when I flew into Norway, I learned this mantra: there's no bad weather, only bad clothing. It has changed my mindset around whether it's raining or it's cold or it's hot. You just adapt and you keep it moving for a way to just control what you can control and not change your mind just because of an external factor. If we stick to our plans and we don't let our moods define us, really amazing things can happen. Let your intuition lead and guide you and figure out life that way and figure out what it means for you. And don't necessarily let someone else or something else dictate to you what your life should look like. And if you're struggling with that, just know that that's... Here I am visiting family in Germany, in Kiefersfelden, which is south of Munich on the border of Austria. We can literally drive down the road and we'll be in Austria, which is similar to how I grew up in Jersey, driving down the road and I was in New York, except in the States, it's a state difference, and in Europe, it's a country difference. And I'm actually going to put my gloves on, which leads me to something I wanted to share with you all. On this trip that I've been doing for myself, that I've been pining after for my entire life. Ever since I was a kid, I thought about backpacking across Europe, and I'm finally doing it, and I'm so proud of myself for that. And when I flew into Norway, within the first 48 hours, I learned this mantra: there's no bad weather, only bad clothing. And I've completely internalized it. It has changed my mindset around whether it's raining or it's cold or it's hot. You just adapt and you keep it moving. Something similar I heard from a colleague of mine in Seattle. She said that when it's raining, they don't change their plans, they just change their clothes. And I think that's so critical for a way to just control what you can control and to keep your life moving forward and to do things that you want to do and not change your mind just because of an external factor. Or maybe your mood, right? So if we stick to our plans and we don't let our moods define us, really amazing things can happen. And that's how it's been for me on this trip. I just want to give you a second to look at this view. It is just phenomenal. This is my cousin Lenny's flat, and she has this view. Every morning she wakes up, she gets to look at this mountain, Kaiser Mountain, behind her. And see the sunrise. And if you go for a walk around here, you can see the sunset over a lake up a hill. And it's magnificent. I started this podcast 6 years ago now, and I had always wondered if I would ever be able to interview guests in real life. Everything had been virtual, and has been virtual, regardless of how society has changed. Obviously, in the beginning, during the pandemic, you couldn't meet in person. But after that, I was living in Jersey City in the beginning and then moved to Philly, and now I live in Florida. And so all of my guests have been virtual. We've connected from around the world, and we've just recorded from the comfort of our homes or our offices, but we've never connected in real life, to record, I should say. And on this trip, I have met so many amazing people, and I've thought about inviting them to be on the show. And I even chatted with a couple of people about that during this trip. And we joked about recording, in real time while over here in Europe. And I feel like that's a dream of mine. So on some level, I'm achieving half of that by doing this solo recording outside for the first time in my life in a beautiful landscape outside, literally in the cold. It's 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about -1 or -2 Celsius. And I'm bundled up because I know I'm going to stand here for a little bit. So I have wool socks on, boots. I have ski underwear, which is long underwear, and and like 3 jackets. I actually think I forgot to put more clothes on, but that's fine. I will add them before I leave for the day. But I'm starting my day just making some time to reconnect with you and to check in with myself. It's the end of 2025. We're gearing up for 2026. It's been an incredible year. Normally, I don't deep dive into my personal life so much, but I think I've really grown because I feel okay doing it now. And just to compare, this time last year, I was doing a road trip through the States, and I was visiting, I think it was about 15 different states to knock off the rest of my nomadic journey that I had started back in 2020, 2021, when things were just so topsy-turvy and I was finding a way to work remotely around the country. And at that time, I had taken 7 months and I had been on the West Coast, and I was using an app called Trusted House Sitters to get my lodging for free. So I'd take care of people's pets and I would work from my laptop, and I would just adjust for the East Coast time zone. So if I was in California, I was waking up at 5, to work by 6 and be done by 2, which pros and cons, right? But for me, I really enjoyed that because I had 2 days for the price of one. I had my working day, and then I got to enjoy the sunshine after and have a free day to just get to explore and try new things and see what's out there. And obviously there's a lot of mountains out there, so I got to do some hiking, but that was years ago, and I felt that it wasn't complete. I had been rushed back home to return to office, and then the office never reopened, and we didn't return to office, but my personal journey of exploring this planet abruptly halted. And I tried to figure out, okay, what is my next move from here, right? And we talk about listening to our intuition, and finding alignment with our higher selves and all of that. And if all of that sounds a little woo-woo and you're not really sure how to listen to yourself, it's pretty simple to get started, but you have to understand that it's going to sound differently. In our world, when you want to do something, you need an entire business case for it. You can't just run off and do something because you think it's a good idea. You have to explain it away, and you have to think about all the outcomes and what are your plan Bs and Cs and Ds if things go awry. When you're listening to your intuition, you just trust it. You sit with your options and you feel in your body how your body's reacting to them. Is your chest expanding? Do you feel hopeful? Do you feel joyful? Do you feel excited? Or is your chest kind of caving in a little bit? You feel tight and anxious and a little scared, but not in a good way. Those are indicators, right? Your body's trying to communicate something with you that your head cognitively may not be getting. And at the same time, you don't have to explain any of those feelings. You can just lean into them and let them guide you and see where it takes you. And the more you do that, the better you'll be not only at listening to those, but recognizing how abundant life really is and how little you actually need it planned out. You can really just trust your intuition, move forward, and figure out life that way. And figure out what it means for you. And don't necessarily let someone else or something else dictate to you what your life should look like. So again, for the last few years, that's sort of the decision-making process I have leaned on to help me navigate my life and figure out what are my next steps, what's the right next step for me, and where do I go from there. And again, we don't always have the answers in the moment. I've been living in Florida now for 3 years, and I still am not 100% clear on why my intuition led me there, except for the fact that it led me here. And I'm finally doing something that I've wanted to do since I was 5 or 6 years old. I'm backpacking across Europe, and I'm doing it by myself, which is not what I ever expected. But I'm 35, I'll be 36 in 2026. And, your body just continues to age over time. And I want to be active, and I want to hike, and I want to carry my pack on my back. And I want to stay in hostels where it's convenient, or crash with friends and family where I can, and just keep things moving and wake up early and go to sleep late or on time if I can manage it. Sometimes I don't sleep, but that's all good. It's all part of the experience. Flying on planes, sitting on trains, driving in cars, sitting on boats or standing on boats to get around. And over here on this continent, it's so easy to use all these different methods of transportation to get around and to see the world from a very different vantage point. In the States, I rely heavily on cars, probably planes, depending on how far I'm going. But driving is everything in the States. And then you have to think about, where am I getting gas and where am I stopping and this and that, right? So that kind of dictates where you're going. Over here, I don't even think about renting a car. I just think about, what time does the train leave and when is the next one? So if I want to do something between now and then, I have freedom and flexibility to do that. And I know that this isn't necessarily on everyone's bucket list, but when you think about what is on your list, right? What are the things that you've been holding on to? The things that you've wanted to do forever, but you've been waiting for your sibling or your significant other or some outside entity to help make it happen. And here you are, and it still isn't done. And those people have come and gone, and yet you're still here. I invite you to make a list, because that's what I did this time last year when I was driving around the country. I actively started writing down all of the things that I've ever wanted to do that I still hadn't done. For instance, scuba diving. I've been talking about scuba diving for years, still hadn't done it. So it got on the list, right? And backpacking across Europe on the list. And as I added to the list, I started actively checking things off the list. And then the list continued to grow. And the list is a living Word document, so it's super easy to add to it. And I use the box bullets so I could just click on them when they're done. So it creates a check mark and it draws a line through. So any type A people or just people who have never gotten into manual list making, I think you'll really enjoy this one. It makes it super simple, and you can see how much progress you've made. And like I said, you can keep adding to it. So now it's December 2025, so it's been 12 months since I started that list. Or I guess technically 13. And I took inventory of it this past week, and I realized not only how much have I accomplished, but how many things are still within my reach to still do this year in the next week or so. And obviously when this recording comes out, it'll be January and we'll be in the new year, and it's all still applies because you'll all be doing resolutions and you'll want to figure out, okay, what do I do for this year and how do I make it actually happen without letting a whole nother year go by where I'm just waiting. And if you're anything like me, that waiting game is not only tiresome, but it's this nagging thought in your head that all of these other things need to line up first before you can do the next thing. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. And whether your big bucket list item is the first thing that you tackle or you tackle something smaller, that's completely up to you. But I think just getting the list out there is a great place to start. And then you can sit with your intuition and figure out, okay, what am I going to work on? Where am I going to go with this? And let it lead and guide you. Let your intuition lead and guide you throughout 2026 in any part of your life that you're in right now. We're all at different points of our lives. Some of us are even at different calendar points, depending on what part of the world you're in, which calendar you're following. But time is relative, and all you have is this present moment. All I literally have is me by myself on this balcony with a camera, my phone, a laptop, a lapel that I'm using for the first time, even though I bought it however long ago. And all of my decisions up until this point have led to this moment. And it's a beautiful moment. I feel confident and at peace. And I wouldn't necessarily do this with a million people walking around, but I don't have to, because where I'm right now, there is no one walking around. And my intuition led me here. My life led me here. And the people in my life created a community of support that led me here. I did not get here alone. And I think for so long in my life, I thought I had to do everything alone. And despite the name solo backpacking, I don't feel solo really at all. Because I've just had so many positive experiences along the way that involved other people. In every country or city I've been to, I've met other people. I've gone on tours, or I've just struck up a conversation. And when you meet other people, you hear about their life experiences, you get to kind of glean something off of them. And you think about, what do I want my life to look like? Because my life has looked a certain way, but you're living your life so differently, and you're fine. And you don't necessarily subscribe to everything that I've been told. So if you're fine, how can I incorporate some of that into my own life so I can be fine without all these rules and regulations that I internalized over the years and thought this is the only way to live and this is the truth, right? And politically, I never really talk about politics online or for years at all. But I think as you get older and you get more involved in the world and you try to tap into your humanity, you try to tap into your humanity more and more, you become more closely attuned to the political state of the world and the powers that are influencing the world and that are impacting not only our what we're buying, right, through media and stuff like that, but what are we thinking and how are we spending our time? And all of these modes are areas of control or manipulation or even just a distraction, right? And I think it's very easy to fall into that if you aren't centered with yourself and if you're not listening to your own voice, because it's so easy to ask someone else or something else to tell you what to do and how to spend your life and how to spend your time. And when you see someone else thinking for themselves, it's so easy to ridicule them and put them down. And all that does is keep you exactly where you are, because it's telling your brain that your choices are right and it's justifying your existence and it's dismissing other opportunities for you to live differently. So it's not inviting challenges into your life, and it's not allowing your brain to think about, wait, how can I do what that person's doing or do a version of that that works for me? Instead, you're just saying, no, they're doing it wrong. They're an outlier, or they're rebellious, or there's something wrong with them. And I would just ask you, if you feel those thoughts coming up, to just ask yourself, what in me is actually coming up that's making me think this about the other person, right? Because chances are you could reflect and find more within yourself, more content within yourself that's leading to these thoughts that are bubbling up. Because most likely you don't really know that person at all, but the thoughts you're thinking sound so loud in your head that it feels like that person is the one in the wrong and you're in the right. But the problem is when you act on those thoughts and they become your actions, and you maybe gossip or just fill your head with negative thinking and negative energy, it does impact the world around you and the people around you. And it has an impact on their lives and sometimes their livelihood. And I think we need to be really careful about what we say and think about the people around us, because energy is flowing, right? It's like a Wi-Fi connection. Wi-Fi is flowing through the air. We don't see it, but we trust it. We know it's there. Energy is the same thing. If anything, it's even more powerful, except that people dismiss it because it doesn't help the system for us to be enlightened. It doesn't help a company function if they need everyone to follow suit. If the upper 1%, not financially necessarily, but let's say just the leaders, right? Who they're at the top of the pyramid, the top of the ladder, and they need everyone to fall in line. It doesn't help them if they have free thinkers beneath them that are kind of stirring up the thinking tank. They want you to just do what they tell you to do. And for a lot of people, they find it easy to do that, or it's just no big deal. They don't feel compromised doing that, and I think that's fine. It's not there's nothing inherently good or bad about the way that we exist in the world. A lot of us have different attachment styles from childhood and other things from childhood that have influenced how we live our lives. So to vilify it or to make it based on like a moral code or something, it's not necessarily fair. And that can be challenging sometimes because we're all, in some regard, trying to fit into the same mold, but we're not all meant to be in that mold. And a lot of times that mold only fits a certain group of people. And sometimes it doesn't even fit them, but they've found a way to mask and filter well enough that they do actually fit into that mold. And myself, I mean, since I was a kid, I have not fit into that mold. And there's so many examples that come to mind, and I'm thinking of incorporating some of them into the book I'm writing. But even on this journey, I've met a man in his 60s, and this is how I met him. So a year and a half ago, I was taking a train from Vancouver to Banff, and I met this woman, Kat, who obviously we have similar names, and her father, and they were traveling together because they never really had the chance to, right? And he's still alive. He's, let's say, I don't know, in his late 80s or something. But he's older, and I think a lot of people would have liked to have traveled sooner if they could, but they couldn't, and this is where they were. And anyway, so we met on the train. We had an amazing time. They're from the UK, and I'm obviously from the States, and we were spending 4th of July in Canada. And it was hilarious, and we had a great time. We stayed in touch, and on this trip, I decided to spend Christmas in London, and I reached out and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in town if you're around." And I said this to several different people. So to me, again, everything happens for a reason. If you make yourself available and you open up the opportunities, you don't know how they'll actually pan out and where you'll wind up. But if you're open and inviting, that's a huge way for things to work out. And with human connection, it takes reciprocity, right? I can't just force someone to be in my life. They have to reciprocate that energy, and they have to choose to be in my life also, and vice versa. If someone invites me into their life and into their world, I have a choice to say yes or to say not right now. But if I say not right now, it could turn into not ever. So we don't know what the future holds, and we don't know how long we'll have. We don't know where life will take us, and it's very important to wake up to those truths. Getting everything in line, getting the perfect job and all the money and all of that won't guarantee that everything else falls into place. And I would even venture to say you have more control over everything else falling into place than you do over that perfect job and that perfect career trajectory. And if you're struggling with that, just know that that's not where your fulfillment or your value or your self-worth lies. And if you sit with yourself a bit, you'll find over time that you can find value in other things, and you'll be at peace in other ways. And maybe you'll even realize you don't need as much money as you thought you did to be happy, to be content, to be okay with yourself, and to ultimately accept the journey that you're on and know that one day it will come to an end, and to not live with regret or resentment, and to just allow people to be who they are and be yourself too, because being yourself gives them the freedom for them to be themselves. Just want to take a moment to listen to the birds. I wish I had some perfect, profound thought to move through this conversation or just close it out, but nothing else is coming to mind. And so I think we're probably done. And the recording just stopped on there. So I'm going to take that as a sign, folks. This was amazing. I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for just always following along and for allowing me to grow in such a way that I've now found my voice in a more profound way for me, less scared, less anxious, less, not even less, more impactful, more powerful, more confident, and more at peace. I can't control other people. I can't control a lot of things. For a while, I wasn't sure how much free will I even had. And if you're relating to that, I suggest you read the book Choice Theory. But if you don't want to read, you can listen to it. And if you don't want to do that, just realize that you can play around with your life. You can experiment. You can try new things, and you can see where it takes you. And you may be surprised where it takes you, where it leads you. And at the same time, it's all good. It all works out. And my biggest gift in 2025 has been the people I curated into my life and who have chosen to be in my life and who have curated me into their lives as well. Where I am now compared to where I was 12, 13 months ago, and where I'll be in the next 5 months when I turn 36. I'm very excited for all of it. And if any of this inspired you, as always, if you want to chat, come hit me up. Much love, peace, happiness to you all. Happy New Year. Talk to you soon. Bye. You are my most important listener, and I can't thank you enough for spending your time with me. If this content resonates with you, then hit subscribe. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube by following @ConnectorQueen. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again on the next episode of Becoming You.